The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, the space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
Kay from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, writes to us, so what could have been a disastrous Whitehouse Correspondents' dinner was avoided by a gunman. Of course, conspiracy theorists are saying that it was all planned, but I tend to believe that this was a real incident. However, by all reports, this was not as life-threatening as the right would like to have us believe. The gunman never got close to the president and was stopped before reaching the Hilton Ballroom. Although I would like to hear your thoughts on this incident. What I really want to ask is, do you think this will further rally his base? Will Congress now have the excuse to approve the new ballroom that he so desperately wants? Who should bear the responsibility for what many are calling an almost incompetent security setup? And why would a president attend an open dinner with his VP, Secretary of Defense, acting AG, and the Speaker of the House? You would think no one in their right mind would want this group together during a social event. Those are excellent questions, Kay, and excellent points that you make. Mark and Scott, what do you have?
Well, I think my first comment is stop going to the Washington Hilton, because I think it was in 1982. That's where That's where they went after Reagan. So
yes, it was.
maybe yeah, maybe not the first and best place to go to. Kay, I agree with you. I don't think it was staged. There's a lot of people out there saying that it is, and they've got pictures of this, that, and the other, and all that. But I really don't think that it was staged. I think this was just another disturbed person. And you're right, he didn't get as close as some of the right-wing media is making it out. I mean, if you listen to some of them, they'd say that he was in the room and the guns were, blazing right there. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. They got him long before that. But, you make a very good point at the very end. Why in the name of God would you put these people, and regardless, first of all, for a social event, why would you even invite those people? They'd be really bad at a social event anyway. But why would you put them all in the same room? And to have such crappy security, even some of the journalists that were going in were saying the security seemed even lax to them compared to and other functions that they attend where the president or vice president or any of them are involved in. So yeah, I don't know what the purpose was of that, to bring that group. It makes very, very little sense to me, but hey, what do I know?
From what I understand, the gunman, well, people probably already know this, got on a train in California with his weapons, because of course he can't fly with weapons, and checked into the hotel 2 days or something before this happened. And what I don't understand is, with all the money that the federal government supposedly has to spend, well, certainly that has to spend on this war, if you have to have the Hilton, why on earth not rent the entire hotel a couple of days ahead of time and search the entire hotel and make sure, sweep it, all of it, and make sure the entire hotel is entirely safe, and then have this party, if you must have it, and not allow anybody else in? You lock down the entire area and the roads and everything else, or you have it someplace else. I mean, the whole thing, the security to me was incomprehensibly lax. And having, you would think, or I would think, although I guess these people don't think, the security and the whole administrative executive branch of the government doesn't seem capable of thinking. When the Iranians, all the Iranian leadership, the top leadership was killed because they were all in the same place. What does the American executive branch do? They're all in the same place in one building. I mean, please, as Kay said, and as you just said, Mark, I mean, who arranged for this? And where is the security? Apparently nobody was even checked for weapons going in.
Well, they had to go through a magnometer, right? So
yeah,
that would
something like that. But people were also going in and out of the hotel proper.
Well, it's
all
a
the time.
hotel.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why you don't allow regular guests to stay there ahead of time if you're going to have the president and other people there for an event.
Yeah, how much you would have to spend on, if you were the Whitehouse Correspondents Association, to spend on taking over the entire Washington Hilton, not just renting out the ballroom for the evening, would be a really big expense. Look, I will say this: a person who agrees with you both that the Washington Hilton is not secure is John Hinckley, who actually put out a statement about this. Bad things keep happening, and John Hinckley would know it's just not a secure place to hold big events. But Brooke used the term gunman. There's now reporting that he didn't even have a gun with him. That all he had was some kind of placard or something like that he wanted to show somebody, and he was running to get through the security before they could stop him. The security started shooting and hit one of, somebody got hit by friendly fire, the officer who got hit. And the next day, Todd Blanche comes out and goes, well, we haven't found a bullet yet that this guy fired, but sometimes you don't find the bullet. What? This is not like, going in the woods out here by my house and trying to find a bullet. This is a ballroom. It's a hotel lobby. It's a big hallway. If the guy fired a bullet, you would know it. You would have it. You would have the bullet. So this is just ridiculous stuff. And look, we're going to add a new word to the lexicon: ballroom truthers. Right? People who think that this was just a setup, that it was all arranged some or shape or another, so that Trump could make his ballroom. But that doesn't even work, because the ballroom that they're talking about wouldn't help many people. And it's at the White House. The last place that the White House Correspondents' Dinner wants to be held is at the White House, right? I mean, they cover the White House. They're not part of the White House. So this is just a crazy. It's a crazy story from the get-go. It was a shocking event. I kind of tuned in to it on Saturday night. I don't know, at 9:30, 10 o'clock or something like that, and was shocked to see what had happened. To me, if we're missing the point if we don't just say, look, there's people who have mental illnesses and there are guns, and you got to do something about one or the other, if not both, and we do nothing about either one of them. Mm-hmm. And this is really just a matter it got nothing to do with rhetoric. I'm so tired of the right wing. Every time they get out there and they start talking about the rhetoric, listen to this. Todd Blanche, the acting U.S. attorney, they're just as guilty as a lot of people on X when you have reporters being overly critical and calling the president horrible names for no reason and without evidence. That's Todd Blanche, the acting U.S. attorney general. Nobody has called Trump anything without evidence. He's been convicted of these crimes. He's been held liable for raping E. Jean Carroll. There's not just no evidence. The results are in. The jury is back, and they've read their verdict. So there's nothing wrong with calling a rapist a rapist. There's nothing wrong with calling a fraud or a felon a felon. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm sorry. If you don't like it, then nominate somebody who's not a criminal. And elect somebody who's not a criminal.
That's very
and
true.
look at what he wrote about Robert Mueller.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
like the last person on earth
on his own account. I mean, these things are in writing, and he has said them, and he has said them in interviews. So, I mean, I don't know who Todd Blanche thinks he's talking to, or how stupid he must be awfully stupid. I don't know. Every time I hear this kind of stuff going on with the executive branch, I keep thinking of Alexander Pope and his Dunciad. And if Pope were alive today, I know exactly who he'd be writing about and what his material would be about, and I would love to know what he'd have to say.
We need a little context here for the people. Okay, Brooke. Last week after our call, Brooke was asking us if we knew anything about the Dunciad, and no, I did not. And that was what I guess you wrote a paper on, right?
Oh, I haven't written it yet.
Okay. You're still slogging your way through the poem.
Yeah, it's going to be for my final project for 18th century British literature. And Alexander Pope was a writer in the 1700s in England, and he was an enormous critic of his time and what he saw as ordinariness, dullness, uninspired writing, stupidity, dunces and idiots, and people who were in charge who shouldn't be, and the triumph of stupidity over intelligence. And he published poetry in the form of 4 volumes called the Dunciad. And it, yeah.
All right, so here.
Okay. All right. So here, I got a question. I got a question for the panel. Got a question. We're gonna test your knowledge of the American government. Real quick thing. Of course, there's a succession if the president is killed.
Yes. And
then it goes to the vice president. Then it goes to the Speaker of the House. All 3 of which were in residence at this thing. The Defense Secretary, who also was there, he's actually number 6. The Attorney General, Acting Attorney General, who was there, he is number 7. So the only one that wasn't there, who would rank in at number 4, was Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. So that leaves us with number 3. If something had happened at that, who would be the president today?
Hold on a second. Let me think about this. That senator from out in Nebraska, what's his name? The old man.
Senator Chuck Grassley.
There
you go. He is the president pro tem of the Senate.
Right.
Good job, Scott. Brooks still thinking about poems right now that nobody ever read. I don't know.
18th century poetry.
Yeah, 18th century poetry.
But
while we're on about that. But go ahead.
But no, go follow through with your thought.
I just find that to be, in the succession group, the top 7, 2 of them weren't there,
and 2 of them are like 80.
And Ruby and Grassley is like at least 80 if he's
like 88 years old or something like that.
So Marco Rubio was about the only one there that wasn't, that was not there. That it boggles my mind. Even the monarchy of England will not let all of them ride in the same plane. I mean, it just makes sense. And knowing the history,
corporate executives don't do that.
Exactly. I mean, this to me is a no-brainer. Oh, and I got a great T-shirt. It shows President Lincoln, and it says Ford Theater, 1 star. But anyway, I mean, it made no sense to me why you would put all these people in there, and to say, well, there's security there, this, that, and the other. It was so lax. It just did. This is, I think, why the conspiracy theories come out. Why would you put this group into one room and it's a social event Why would the security be so lax other than have something manufactured to cause distraction or whatever? I agree with Kay. I think that it was not manufactured. I think it's true, but as Scott's pointed out, it is not what they're saying it was.
Again, there's so many different ways to look at all this, but for me, just to say, I'll say it one more time. This is about guns, Second Amendment solutions for problems. Okay. This is not a guy who probably would have ordinarily gone out there and said, you know what, I have a problem and I need to get a gun. So whatever mental illness this dude has, the idea that he went out there, got a bunch of guns, took a train so he didn't have to get on an airplane, went across the country and checked into a hotel. But if the guns were in the hotel, now he's been charged, by the way, with attempting to assassinate the president of the United States. So if when this goes to trial, and I'm guessing it will go to trial at some point or another, I don't know when, they're gonna have to explain how he was trying to assassinate the president when he wasn't on the same floor as the president or the ballroom, and he may not have even been armed at the time. That all his guns were back in his hotel room, and all he was running down the hall with. I mean, the picture that I saw of him, he's not wearing a shirt. I was wondering whether he was a streaker or an assassin. But but when that he didn't really have any intention of doing anything, but he wanted to get into the ballroom, and he figured the best way to do it would be to try to run through. Again, we don't know. We never know anymore. There's nobody to trust. The Secret Service is really screwed up in Butler, obviously. They seem to be screwing up again here. As you pointed out, if the executive branch wanted to be the least bit, security minded, they would have left more people at home, including the vice president. I know that when they get together in Congress for the State of the Union address or some other big address, they leave behind a designated survivor in case there's a big attack on the the Capitol or something like that, and everybody gets killed. So they have, there are tried and true ways that they have tried to avoid the situation that you're talking about from happening. But it doesn't look like to me that he was ever in any danger at all. And this whole thing, I'm not saying I think it was staged. Honestly, I don't know. And I can't say one way or another. I just wish we had better information than we have, because we don't have good information at all. And then the last way to look at it is just, again, the right-wing people clutching at their pearls and saying, this is Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, who actually said that there would be bullets flying at this event, but I think she meant metaphorically and from Trump. This is what she said. When you read that manifesto of the shooter, ask yourselves, how different is that rhetoric from this almost assassin than what you read on social media and hear in various forms every single day? The answer, if you're being honest with yourself, is that there is no difference at all. Hey, Caroline Leavitt, welcome to America. Have you never been here before? We have free speech. Nobody, James Comey got arrested yesterday for putting a bunch of seashells together that said 8647. Now, I'll ask you guys this question, okay? If we were all in a bar together and there was a guy in the bar and he's getting drunk and he's getting belligerent and stuff like that, and the bartender looks over at the bouncer and says, 86 this guy for me, what happens? What does the bouncer do?
Well, I guess it would all depend on what town you're in. If
it's not in Philadelphia.
You're not in Philadelphia. If you're in Philadelphia, you're probably never going to see him again. Probably Southside Chicago. Probably, yeah, they're not going to have.
Seriously, but he's not murdering the guy.
No,
he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been to a bar. You put him out the door, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
you throw him out.
Bounce
You
him.
grab him. You grab him by the collar and you throw him out.
Right.
And you
86 doesn't mean that you murder somebody. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And even if James Comey had said, I killed Trump, It doesn't mean that he was saying he's going to kill Trump, which would be a threat. He's just making a general suggestion out there, and it's probably not something that most of us would do, but it certainly is within his rights of free speech to do.
And now they're going after Jimmy Kimmel again. They're going after Jimmy Kimmel again because he made a comment about Melania looking like she was getting ready for a funeral or something. And it was 2 weeks before this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I have. One of my large, I know, Mark, you keep disagreeing with me about Canada, which is fine, but I just keep noticing the recycling. You know, I mean, you think that, I mean, people may think that they're fine, like with Greenland, with Trump, okay, fine, you know, he understands, he's dropped it or whatever. And then there's a recycling of the issue. And then we're back on this, and then we're back on that, and then we're back on something else. And so now we're back to Comey, and we're going to be back to, and we're back to Kimmel. And then we're going to be back on, I don't know. Now he's also back on Mount Rushmore, and he's back on putting his face on money, and now on passports also. Apparently, you can get a special edition passport if you can apply in person in DC, and it's a Patriot passport. And it'll have his name on. I'm sorry, his picture on it. And I'm like, oh, thank God I already have my passport, because I don't want one of those. But this revenge regurgitation. I mean, I remember, I forget where I read this. Someone described Trump like a Roomba. He bumps into this and he goes over there, and he bumps into that and then he goes someplace else. But he keeps bumping into things and he keeps coming back and bumping into something else. But he's
also in a lot of ways like a Roomba, Brooke, because they don't pick up anything either. I mean, if you've ever seen a Roomba, they don't really work all that well. I don't care what anybody says, they do not work all that well. Yes, he bumps into something and he moves on to the next, whatever it's going to be, but nothing ever comes of it. That's the point. You know, it's not a matter of that he didn't say it, but what he says does not come true. I'm still waiting for my $5,000 Doge check. I'm still waiting for, you know, my peace dividend. I'm still waiting to see. I'm still waiting to see the Mexicans pay for that damn wall. I'm still waiting for all these things. I'm still waiting to take over Greenland. Again, Mark, all of this stuff is. I would say to you this. Mm-hmm. Be more worried about what you don't hear him say than by what he says. How much did you, other than shooting fishing boats, how much did you hear out of him about Venezuela?
Yeah, that's a good point. And kidnapping Maduro.
He was blowing up fishing boats. He was doing all that. Okay, that's in plain sight. But you didn't really hear anything about kidnapping Maduro. You didn't hear about anything boots on the ground, any of that kind of stuff. It's the things he doesn't say that you truly have to be concerned about.
Yeah. Well,
and I think what happens is people just get, oh, well, he said this. That does not mean it's going to happen. Matter of fact, it's more likely that it's not going to happen. We won the war. Well, the war's still going on. Well, you know, we're going to negotiate. Call back the people. You know, that we're not going to negotiate. Well, I did that.
Want to hear something?
Yes.
Something amazing?
Go ahead.
The Connecticut National Guard today was sent to Iran.
Really?
Yep. How crazy is that?
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Here's something else. Well, you know, I'm sorry, Marcus, for interrupting.
No. I'm done. I'm done. No.
Because you mentioned the things that he's not talking about, and I think this is a really important one. Apparently, tomorrow is a deadline for the Zambian government to accept a new health funding that was a bare bones version of PEPFAR, which we could talk about in a second. Mm-hmm. But only if they agree to give the United States expanded access to their mineral wealth. All right, so let me take a step back, because obviously that's not shocking you all enough. In before I had Trump derangement syndrome, I had Bush derangement syndrome. I hated George W. Bush. I hated his policies. I thought that he was. I actually thought until recently that he was the worst president ever. Even Trump won. I thought George W. Bush was a more destructive president for all the things that he did to other countries and to our country, right? Which I would include, I obviously invading Iraq for no good reason, and the toll that that took and continues to take, by the way, because the Iraqis are shooting missiles on behalf of the Iranians. So he basically handed Iraq to Iran, um, and then allowing North Korea to get the bomb. But I digress. He did one thing that I thought was really admirable, and that was PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR. And Zambia was one of the countries that he focused on. It was giving the population of people with the HIV virus a cocktail of antiretroviral medications that basically had beaten back AIDS here in this country, but was very expensive. So African countries couldn't afford it. And PEPFAR gave them that relief and provided them with those drugs. So once in his life that I can tell, George W. Bush did something admirable. And now Trump is threatening to take away that program. He's already taken most of it away. There's like a bare bones version of it going on, but he's going to take that bare bones version away from them unless they sign over their mineral wealth to the United States of America. And to me, this is just disgusting on disgusting, layers over disgustingness. And what are we doing in this country now? We're like a mafia family, holding people up, extorting people, doing all kinds of horrible things to other people that we used to work really, really hard at trying to, like the United States of America, and after World War II, forcing Great Britain to give up their empire, because that was the terms of our working with them in the pre Pearl Harbor and during the war itself, so on and so forth. It is just, it's the stuff that he doesn't talk about that he's doing quietly that is really disturbing. So I agree with you there, Mark.
Yeah. I mean, it's something like, it's like Jimmy Hoffa. It's amazing. We used to do things because it was the right thing to do. Now we do things only if it benefits that certain few that's out there. So yeah, it's definitely concerning. But Kay, I agree with you. I do not think that this was made up. I think probably the story that's being told is probably more made up than anything else. They're going to try to make hay out of it. Will this increase this thing with the base? I don't know. I mean, I don't see how he can hurt himself with his base. His base is there. They've drank the Kool-Aid. You're not going to get them back. But we'll see. We'll see what as polls come out. But please don't pay too much attention to the polls, for Christ's sakes. I mean, people pay way too much attention. And when we're talking about Trump, really pay attention to what he doesn't say. Pay far more attention to that, because what he says is meant to distract you and to scare you and to make you afraid. Pay attention to what he doesn't say, because that's where the truth probably lies, and what's going to happen next.
And can I finish this with an old joke?
You sure can. Absolutely.
All right. This is an old joke from the old Soviet Union. Okay. Two men are standing on a bread line, and it's taken 3 hours. They're just still standing there. They haven't moved. And one of them says to his friend, "I can't take it anymore. I'm going to go shoot this bastard Stalin." And he leaves. And a few hours later, he comes back and he's empty-handed. And his friend looks at him and goes, "So, did you kill Stalin?" And he says, "Man, you think this line is long."
Nice.
Maybe you shouldn't be such an asshole if you don't want to get shot at. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, here's the other thing. It just seems like it's one drama after the next. It's never ending. I miss Obama Not because I think he was the greatest president in the world, but because there was no drama other than he wore a tan suit.
Right.
I mean, that was the drama. But hey, look at it this way. We got Kid Rock lecturing at the Pentagon about Iran. Look at us go. We've got the best minds that there is. We have the greatest minds working on stuff. So great job, MAGA. You're doing a hell of a job. Keep it up. You are definitely the antithesis to Darwinism. You probably should have been eaten by wolves by now, because that's really the way natural selection is supposed to go. But hey, here you are. All right.
Yeah, unbelievable. Kid Rock.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!